Have you ever wondered why some men seem to have a magical pull on women? It's not about looks or money. It's about something deeper. A secret button that, when pressed, makes women feel a strong emotional connection. This button isn't found in fancy gifts or sweet words. It's found in a man's ability to be calm, confident, and focused on his own life. This might sound surprising, but it's true. Many people think that to win a woman's heart, a man must always be available, always giving, always chasing. But this often leads to disappointment and heartbreak. Why? Because constantly trying to please someone can make you lose yourself. Imagine a man who is always running after a woman, trying to make her happy, forgetting his own dreams and goals. Over time, this can make him seem less interesting, less strong. Women might start to feel that he's not the man they were drawn to. But what if a man does the opposite? What if he focuses on his own life, his own goals, and allows space in the relationship? This doesn't mean ignoring the woman. It means not losing himself in the process. When a man lives his life with purpose and confidence, it naturally creates moments of absence. He's busy with his work, his hobbies, his friends. This space can make a woman feel curious, even a little longing. She starts to think about him more, wondering what he's up to. This isn't about playing games. It's about living a full life. A life where the man is the main character and the woman is a cherished part of it, not the whole story. By being less available, not because he's avoiding her, but because he's engaged in his own life, a man becomes more attractive. He becomes someone she wants to be around, someone she respects. This approach is rooted in Stoic wisdom. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control: our actions, our thoughts, our emotions. It teaches us to find peace and strength within ourselves. So, the secret button? It's a man's ability to be emotionally strong, to live his life with purpose, and to create space in the relationship. This combination makes women feel a deep, emotional connection. In the pages to come, we'll explore how this works, why it works, and how you can apply these principles in your own life. Get ready to discover the power of detachment and how it can transform your relationships. Let me ask you a strange question. What if the very thing you're chasing is running away from you because you're chasing it? Think about it. Have you ever tried to grab a butterfly? The more you reach, the more it flies away. But if you sit still, sometimes it lands right on your hand. This is exactly how emotional attraction works. When you chase someone too hard, they feel pressure. They feel like they can't breathe. But when you stay still, when you live your life and give space, they feel pulled toward you. Most men don't know this. They think, if I don't show her how much I care every second, she'll forget me. But the truth is the opposite. When you constantly show up, text all the time, and always say yes, you become too easy to reach, too predictable, and slowly you lose mystery. You lose that spark. Women are drawn to mystery, not confusion, but mystery. They want to know what you're doing, but not always have the answer. They want to wonder a little. That wondering makes their heart beat faster. It creates emotional fire. And that fire needs air, space, time. If you keep the flame smothered, it goes out. So here's something powerful to remember. When you're always present, you leave no room for her to feel your absence. And without absence, there's no desire. This doesn't mean you go cold. It doesn't mean you ignore her. It means you have your own life so full that she gets a chance to miss you. And missing you is powerful. The moment she starts to miss your presence, she becomes emotionally connected. She starts thinking, why do I want to hear from him? Why do I feel this way when he's not around? That's the psychological button. And you don't press it with words. You press it with space. This space, this absence, must come from truth, not from trickery. Don't fake being busy. Be actually busy. Be deeply involved in something that matters to you, whether it's your work, your health, your goals, or your purpose. Fill your life with meaning. Women can feel when your absence is real, and that's what draws them in. Because deep down, they want a man who doesn't need them, but chooses them. A man who can stand alone but still welcomes connection. That's the kind of man who becomes emotionally unforgettable. What if I told you that most men don't actually want the woman? They want how the woman makes them feel. Sounds strange, right? But let's dig a little deeper. When a woman smiles at you, laughs at your joke, or touches your arm, something lights up inside. You feel seen. You feel wanted, important. But here's the trap. Many men begin to crave that feeling more than the actual connection. They confuse the emotional high for love. And this is where things go wrong. When a man starts chasing that feeling, he stops being his own man. He begins to shape himself to get that feeling back. He laughs when he doesn't want to. He agrees just to avoid conflict. He gives more than he should, hoping to be noticed again. But here's the truth. Women can sense this. They can feel when a man is acting just to get something from them. It doesn't feel strong. It doesn't feel stable. It feels needy. Real emotional power begins when a man stops chasing that feeling and learns to create it for himself. When you find peace, joy, and strength inside your own life without needing it from anyone else, that's when everything changes. Now think about this. What kind of man is more attractive? The one who's waiting for her to give him attention, or the one who's building something with or without it? Exactly. When a woman sees that your world is already full, when you're happy without her, but still open to her, she feels pulled in, not because you need her, but because she wants to be a part of your world. This creates emotional safety. She knows you're not leaning on her to feel okay. That makes her relax. And guess what? That relaxed woman begins to open up, connect, and attach. So stop chasing the high. Stop trying to get that quick spark of emotion from her. Build a steady fire inside you. Find your peace, your purpose, your passions. And then, without even trying, you'll press the button that makes her emotionally hooked. The button that says, I don't need you, but I choose you. That is rare. And rare is what she craves. Let me ask you a strange question. Why do people want what they can't easily have? Think about it. If someone gives you a toy every day, do you still get excited about it? Probably not. But if someone only gives it to you once in a while, and you don't know when it's coming next, your brain lights up. You want it more. You start thinking about it, wondering, hoping. Now replace that toy with you. Many men make the mistake of being too available. Always texting, always calling, always ready. They think, if I'm around more, she'll like me more. But here's the truth. What's always there often gets ignored. This is where strategic absence becomes powerful. Not because you're playing a game, not because you're trying to make her miss you, but because you're living a real life. When you have a full day, goals to reach, friends to see, and things to build, you naturally become less available. Your time becomes valuable. You become a man with movement. And that space, the silence when you're not around, starts to speak louder than words. She starts to think, where is he? What's he doing? Why do I miss him? That curiosity, that's attraction. That's interest growing without you needing to push or prove. Women don't become emotionally addicted to men who are always chasing. They become addicted to the man whose attention feels like a gift, not a habit. A man who has his own rhythm. A man who disappears sometimes, not to punish, but because his purpose calls. This is the psychology of scarcity. When something is rare, it becomes special. It becomes wanted. So instead of flooding her with your presence, allow the space to create desire. Absence isn't cold. It's powerful. It tells her, I'm not here all the time because I have something bigger I'm building. But when I am here, I'm fully present. That kind of presence is rare. And rare makes her feel something she can't shake. It's not about being distant. It's about being full of life, full of purpose. That fullness is what makes her crave your time, your energy, your presence. Let space speak for you and watch what it does. Let me tell you something that might shock you. A woman doesn't fall in love with what you say. She falls in love with how she feels when she's around you. That's the real secret. It's not the words. It's not the gifts. It's not the big gestures. It's the energy you bring into the room. But here's the catch. Most men are trying too hard to control that energy. They think, if I act a certain way, she'll like me. So they fake confidence. They hide their emotions. They say what they think she wants to hear. But women are smart. They feel when you're being fake. And when they feel that, the connection dies. Now here's where Stoic detachment becomes your weapon. When you're detached, not cold, but calm, you don't need to impress. You don't chase approval. You speak your truth. You act from your core. That creates a feeling of strength that she can sense, even if you say very little. It's not about hiding how you feel. It's about mastering how you respond to those feelings. Here's a question that will shake the way you think. Why do women miss some men like crazy and forget others in a week? It's not about looks. It's not about money. It's not about being nice. It's about how rare you are. Most men are like fast food. Easy to get, easy to forget. But a rare man? He's like a rare gem. Hard to find, impossible to replace. Now here's the secret. Scarcity creates value. Think about it. Gold is valuable because it's rare. If gold grew on trees, no one would care about it. It would be just another rock. It's the same with your attention. If you give it to everyone all the time, it loses power. But if you focus on your goals, if you're busy building your life, if your time is limited and protected, you become rare. And when a woman feels that she doesn't have easy access to you, her brain lights up. She starts to wonder, why isn't he chasing me like the others? What is he doing that's more important than me? That curiosity grows. That mystery grows. And here's the wild part. She starts chasing you, not because you played a game, not because you acted cold, but because you were actually living, not waiting around to be chosen. Absence when it's real, not fake or forced, makes her feel your value. It's not about ignoring her. It's about showing her, through your actions, that your life has purpose. You've got things to do. You've got goals to hit. You've got a path to walk. That's the psychological button. She starts linking her emotions to your presence. Because your presence isn't always guaranteed. You become a reward, not a routine. And in her mind, that changes everything. The man who makes himself too easy to reach becomes background noise. But the man who is busy building a life that matters, he becomes a signal she can't ignore. And let me tell you something most men never realize. It's not your love that makes her stay. It's your energy. And no, I'm not talking about magic. I'm talking about the way you move, speak, and carry yourself. The way you enter a room without needing attention. The way you sit still, calm, unshaken, like nothing can throw you off your center. That's the kind of energy that makes a woman feel something deeper than just attraction. She feels safe. She feels pulled in. She feels curious. Now here's what most men do wrong. They give away their energy like it's candy. They try too hard to be liked. They try to fix, to prove, to impress. But here's the truth. The more you try, the more she pulls away. Why? Because trying too hard smells like desperation, and desperation destroys desire. Now here's where Stoic wisdom changes everything. You don't chase feelings, you lead them. When you are calm in chaos, when you don't react to tests or games, when you speak less and listen more, when you walk away from disrespect instead of arguing, she starts to feel something powerful. She starts to wonder, what's different about him? Why doesn't he flinch? Why do I want more of his attention, even when he's not giving it? That's emotional leadership. It's not coldness. It's not being distant for fun. It's not playing it cool. It's being grounded. You stop running toward approval. You start living from peace. That's the psychological shift. That's the button. You move from, what do I do to make her love me? To how do I keep building a life I love? And she feels it. She starts responding to your stillness, not your effort. Because the man who owns his energy owns the room. And more than that, he owns his worth. Here's a wild truth most men don't want to admit. You're not addicted to her. You're addicted to how she makes you feel about yourself. Let that sink in. It's not about her smile, or her voice, or the way she texts you goodnight. It's about how those things make you feel. Wanted, important, chosen. But here's the trap. If your sense of value comes from how someone else treats you, you're already in chains. You'll start doing things just to keep those feelings alive. You'll ignore red flags. You'll tolerate disrespect. You'll overgive. You'll over-explain. You'll wait for her message like your day depends on it. And slowly, you lose yourself. Here's the Stoic shift. You stop asking, how does she make me feel? And you start asking, who am I when she's not around? That's where freedom begins. You build a life so full, so rich, so alive with meaning, that no single person gets to define your worth. You don't chase highs. You create a stable, steady fire inside you that burns no matter who comes or goes. And when a woman feels that kind of man, one who doesn't need her to feel whole, she's drawn in like a magnet. Why? Because that's rare. That's power. You become the calm in the storm. You become the place of peace in a world full of chaos. Not because you're trying to impress her, not because you're playing hard to get, but because you've done the hard work of becoming whole. So if you've ever wondered why some men seem to effortlessly attract without trying, it's because they've already answered the deepest question, am I enough, even if no one chooses me? And when the answer is yes, women feel it deeply, and they don't forget it. Here's a question that'll stop you in your tracks. What happens when she stops texting you first? Most men panic. They wonder what they did wrong. They scramble to fix something that may not even be broken. They start chasing, trying to win her attention back. But here's the truth most don't hear. Sometimes her silence isn't a problem. It's a test. And no, not in some manipulative game-playing way. It's deeper than that. She wants to feel your energy. She wants to see if your world collapses without her voice in it. She wants to know, is this man centered on himself or on me? If you react with fear, desperation, or over-explaining, you fail the test. But if you remain calm, focused, and unbothered, still moving, still creating, still building, you show her everything she needs to know. Because emotional addiction doesn't come from being flooded with attention. It comes from respecting the strength of a man who doesn't flinch. Think of the lighthouse in a storm. It doesn't run around screaming, "Where's the boat? Where's the boat?" It just shines. That's what women crave at the core. A man who stands still while everything else spins. When you stop needing her response to feel secure, you unlock something powerful. You become the one she can't stop thinking about. Why? Because your peace makes her curious. Your silence makes her wonder. And your presence, when it does return, feels like gravity. It's not a trick. It's not about pulling strings. It's about living in such a grounded way that your absence creates tension and your presence brings peace. Most men chase. Few men choose stillness, but the ones who master it, they don't just attract attention, they hold it for a very long time. Let's finish with the truth. Most men avoid asking themselves, what if she's not the one who's special? What if the way you feel around her is really about who you get to be in her presence? Let that sink in. You think it's about her smile, her laugh, her vibe. But here's the twist that flips the whole thing on its head. You're chasing the mirror, not the woman. You're chasing the version of yourself that feels alive, seen, and desired when she's around. That feeling, the confidence, the lightness, the excitement, it's not something she gave you. It's something she reflected back to you. That's the psychological button. Not love, not lust, reflection. You saw yourself as valuable because she made you feel valuable. But the real power begins when you realize you can feel that way without her. The more you anchor yourself to her, the more you lose access to the version of you that made her interested in the first place. But when you detach, not out of anger, not as a game, but from deep clarity, you reclaim that energy. You return to the man who doesn't need permission to feel powerful. And here's the paradox. She never tells you. She doesn't want to be your source. She wants to orbit around your fire. She wants to be part of something already burning, already rising, already strong with or without her. The man who builds his life with quiet discipline, who holds his emotions like a sword, not a leash, who gives space not out of strategy but because he has things to do. That man presses the psychological button women can explain, but can ignore. And when you stop trying to win her back, prove your worth, or convince her to stay, you stop playing her game and start writing your own story. You don't just get attention, you get freedom. You don't just make her feel something, you make her remember you. And that's what emotional addiction really is. Not a trick, not a trap, but the echo of a rare man who didn't chase her because he finally caught himself.